Please. Welcome everybody, and I apologise for late start to do with our recording of a meeting. Sarah just had to wait to all get going, so we're all good to go. And I welcome everybody, and I welcome members of the public gallery. Council, we give thanks for the contribution of our pioneers, early settlers, and for those who fought in the various wars for the fabric of Tenterfield community we have today. May the words of our mouths and the meditation of our hearts be accepted in thy sight, O Lord. Amen. Acknowledgement of country, I would like to acknowledge traditional custodians of this land that we're meeting on today. I'd also like to pay respect to the elders both past and present of the Juckabal, Kamilaroi and Murchison Nations, and extend that respect to other Aborigines present today. Councillors, as I stand to acknowledge the passing of our Councillor John Martin, his unique character, and I commend his passion he brought to this council meeting, and it's a sad loss, so I would ask us all in the public gallery please stand and observe the song. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, we have no apologies. Displays of decorations of interest, please. Councillor Bronwyn.
Yes, for item 8. Item 8.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Derrick. Councillor Bronwyn Petrie, in your declaration, you don't disclose whether you're leaving the meeting or not. You are leaving the meeting. Yeah. You need to leave the meeting for the speakers also. Okay. Okay. Councillors, please, we'll move on with item 1. It's confirmation of the minutes of already meeting 24th of May. Would someone who was in attendance at the meeting like to move that it be passed as true and correct record, please? Councillor Sawyer, thank you. Second, please. Councillor Michael Petrie. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, councillors. Tabling documents, councillors. We have no tabling documents. Urgent, late and supplementary items of business. We have a confidential agenda item. It's item ENV 10/17. It's to do with the pollution incident update. Councillor will be dealt with in the confidential part of our meeting. Can I have a move in a second, please? So we deal with this. Councillor Bronwyn Petrie, I thank you. Second by Councillor Berry, I thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, in the community consultation, we do have 3 speakers. So, Councillor Petrie, thank you. Bronwyn Petrie. What I'll do, councillors, we'll have our speakers. We do have an Australian citizenship ceremony at 10 o'clock, and we do like to be on time there. So, with the approval of the meeting, what I'd like to do is go to our speakers now. Because this is a planning matter, I would like to move forward to do with this item, with item ENV 8/17, with the Tenterfield Local Environmental Plan 213, proposed amendment planning proposal, OU3 zone land provisions. So I'll do that now. If I can have a move in a second of that after the public access session with our 3 speakers, so we can start that. But once 10 o'clock is, we'll have the Australian citizenship ceremony. So is council approved with that? Can I have a mover, please? I move that forward. Councillor McNish, I thank you. Seconder. Councillor Sawyer, I thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I move an amendment to the wording of the report?
To do with the planning matter?
Yes.
In what way, councillor? I'm
I
sorry.
just a few changes to the wording. There's no great changes to the content of it.
Do you want to deal with that when we put the item up?
Well, we might as well do it now before we start. It's up to you.
Well, I think I'm happy to take the proposed amendments, but I'd rather deal with it when we start to present the matter.
Okay, fine.
Okay?
No worries.
So I hope you're happy with that. Councillors, all in favour of moving this item forward? Against? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, we have our speakers, and the first one's Mr. Brett Watson. So, Mr. Watson, if you come forward, and councillors, please stand and welcome a visitor to our chamber.
Where do I go? Up to the lectern?
Councillors, please stand and welcome. Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Mayor Petty.
You have,
I'll have to use the mic.
the recording, Mr. Watson. Mr. Watson, you have 5 minutes.
I'm sorry.
So when we get to 4 minutes, I will tell you we have 1 minute left.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Hold on. Hello. Good morning. Hello.
Okay.
Good morning, Mayor Petty, councillors and other attendees. I'd just like to say my name is Brett Watson and I have resided for the past 23 years out at Timbara on a perpetual crown grazing lease that now has, well, since '87, forestry dedication upon it. In '93, upon purchasing, I did put in a DA and obtained a dwelling permit, which of course I have now occupied since that time. In 2001, I put in a second DA for another dwelling at another location. This basically went through to when forestry objected to the location. The whole concept of actually getting the DA was fine, but the location they objected to, and it stalled out there and I never went any further. Now, last year, about June, speaking to a forestry personnel, they just happened to drop a little clanger on me saying that, hey, by the way, your land is now zoned RU3. And I had since '93 assumed it was still farmland general, RU1, 1A, whatever you want to call it at that time. And so I've been a lawbreaker for whatever the last 16 years or so, since '96, when the zoning apparently got changed to RU3. And under RU3, with consent, there is nil. Under consent, only roads or as by the Forestry Act. That is it. So there's no fencing, no agriculture activities, etc. So this has put me in a bit of a bind. We then approached myself and another leaseholder in a similar situation, of which there are in excess of 44 perpetual crown leases. And just looking at a map here of RU3 zoned areas, we're looking at about 50 people so affected. And so in order to give them back their proper rights, this is only righting a wrong. There's an error here. These lands should have remained as RU1. RU3 has stripped the owners of their natural entitlements and rights. So as the proposal stands at the moment, this is truly a win. This is a return of those rights to the disgruntled leaseholders, but only the righting of a wrong. And I thank council and its planning staff for their swift action in dealing with this matter. And so if it goes through as RU1, everyone is happy, and forestry should be delighted because now they too have the ability to put in camping grounds, amenity blocks, etc. through the process with council. So all in all, it's a win, but I would just like to add that for anyone who may not know, that Crown land leases are not forestry leases. Forestry doesn't issue leases, perpetual leases. The best they can do is 50 years. Typically what you see is a permit to occupy, which are often referred to as forestry leases, but they indeed are not. And the letters from forestry at time of dedication made it clear that dedication is not compulsory acquisition of land or a resumption, and the timber rights on the perpetual crown leases were already bestowed to forestry prior to dedication. Dedication was only about putting a bar to freeholding the land, as well as putting a restriction on clearing. This was to ensure that forestry had timber reserves, if you like, or access to meet their quotas, and that was it. The actual leaseholder's use of the land and entitlements remain unchanged. That's not quite how it's worked out, unfortunately, especially when you see things like RU3 being dumped upon us. But that is it in the nut. I well pleased with what I see proposed here for the change back to RU1 of all these so-affected lands. So I commend it to the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. Thank you for your presentation and your comments. I'll now ask that Mr. Bill Petrie come forward. Councillors, once again, please stand and welcome your visitor to our chamber. Welcome, Mr. Petrie.
Morning, Council Chair.
Same rules apply, Mr. Petrie, where you're allowed 5 minutes to present, and I will make a call in 4 minutes to tell you you have 1 minute left. All the best and welcome.
Hello? Hello, everyone. Yeah, thanks for letting me present today. Hello to everyone. We became aware of the RE3 zoning just through Brett Watson in sort of State Forest, when he found out from the Forestry Corporation. This affects around 50 leases in the Shire, and we're also shocked to find out that my freehold was impacted. This was clearly a mapping error from carryover from old maps, I'd say. It was freehold about 15 years ago, and 2 portions were affected. They were never State Forest. Under the current LEP zoning, the rules attached to the OB3 forestry only activities under the Forestry Act are permitted. Where does this leave us? My land's freehold, and there are therefore not subject to Forestry Act. Effectively putting the land in limbo. Representations were made to the Director for Environment and Planning in June on 2 occasions last year. We haven't heard nothing. I'm concerned that this time frame, especially when it was passed here last November, it may not be fixed till May next year. Some 2 years since the error was first brought to the attention of the council. If a quicker solution can be made, it would be very much appreciated. However, I congratulate Mrs. Richardson for her improvement on the solution for the problem currently faced by 50 other potential leases in the Shire. Yeah, in the Shire, who had their long-standing title and rights under the council, under the Crown land, existing tenure stripped away from them by the word 83. Those rights will be properly reinstated and avoid a need for a class action against the council, which I don't like to do, but yeah, maybe. Thanks very much for that.
Thank you, Mr. Petrie, and thank you for your comments.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Councillors, we do have our third and final speaker, Mr. Tim Petrie. Mr. Petrie, if you'd like to come forward once again, councillors, please stand. Welcome visit to our chamber. Thank you, councillors. Mr. Petrie, as the saying, you have 5 minutes, and I will give you a bell at 4 minutes. All the best.
Morning, councillors. I've distributed a map of the State Heritage Register. The light blue areas are perpetual lease with State Forest dedicated over it. The heritage listing excludes leasehold and easements so that their normal activities can continue. And the owner of the heritage listed name is stated as the state government. However, the heritage listing has been mistakenly put on lots of freehold in the Shire and across the region. Those are in the dark green areas. The old growth maps were prepared as part of the Upper North East Regional Forest Agreement in 1998. They were so inaccurate that the federal government conducted an audit and found they were only 17% accurate. The maps were never used on private land, and if you go to get a private native forestry PVP, even the EPA conduct a reassessment of the old growth values. Also got little map. This is one of our paddocks in Barra. And the statement that old growth is showing few signs of human disturbance, so the blue is meant to be old growth. And this property had thousands of people mining gold on it, 2 sawmills, continual logging, grazing, fencing, roads, etc. And that is 95% of the property. This is the remapping done by Land and Water, the ground truth and everything, is down to 10%. So shows the inaccuracy of the maps. And now that Mrs. Richardson has alerted us to the issue, we're working with New South Wales Farmers and Office of Environment and Heritage to get this listing removed from all freehold across our Shire and the Upper North East. I'd like to commend Councillor McNish's amendments to the report. Thanks.
Perfect timing, Mr. Petrie. Thank you to the 3 speakers, and I commend you for coming forward to, if you want to stay there for a moment, Tim. I do commend you coming forward, because that's what it's all about. And that's what this council is about, that you do have the opportunity to come and present your case. We will deal with it this morning, and you'll sit in the public gallery. Obviously, there's no involvement from the public gallery, but I do commend you and the other 2 speakers for coming forward. It does mean a lot to this council that we listen to our community and our landholders to make such changes, and it's not an easy change. And it won't be tomorrow. It will be a long time if it gets through today. So I do thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, we'll move on to our citizenship ceremony. With the approval of the council, once we do this, while our visitors are here, I'm happy that we break for smokers and we'll come back into the planning. Are we all happy with that? Okay, thank you, councillors. Thank you all very much for joining and sharing in a wonderful morning tea with our new citizens and with our public gallery. Councillors, it has been moved that we deal with this item now. So what I'll do, you've got to go. Thank you, Councillor.
I was waiting for it.
It's all good. So what I'll do, councillors, with respect to Councillor McNish, you've flagged an amendment to some wording. What I'll do, the way I see it as far as meeting procedure, I'll get it moved and second that we deal with the item, and I'll go to you, Councillor McNish, for your flagged amendments, okay? So, councillors, we've moved that this item be brought forward. We're dealing with item ENV 8/17 to do with the Tenterfield Local Environmental Plan 213, proposed amendment, planning proposal RU3 zone land provisions. Can I remove in a second that we deal with this? Councillor Peters, I thank you. Seconded by Councillor Michael Petrie, thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, councillors. Councillor McNish, you flagged an amendment. Can you please lead? And is it to the, just so I know, councillor, with the wording that's in front of us?
Yeah, it's to the attachment, what attachment is it? Attachment 8.
Right. There with me, councillor.
On page, page 1 of, first one's, it's got attachment 8 at the top. Planning proposal 2017-801.
Okay, so in the attachment, councillor, we're on page 1 of 6.
1 of 6, yeah.
And where are you again?
Okay, we're at the, where it says brief history. Brief history, the last thing on that.
Yeah.
Okay, at the end of the last sentence, add, and approximately 50 perpetual leases with state forest dedication over them are affected by the zoning.
Okay, so So council, bear with me, so I'm reading that, and I'll read the last sentence. Council is aware that there are land parcels which are now held in freehold title and are zoned RU3 forestry. So you'd like that sentence put on after that?
No, after brief history.
Or after brief
After
history?
brief history, yeah.
So is that adding to the paragraph that's in there?
Adding to the paragraph,
On top of it,
on top of it, yeah.
okay? So I'll just hand over to our acting GM, councillor, for some advice there.
Mr. Mayor, through you, we can add that to the document for the corporate system.
You get it.
So it's lawful, that's what, please bear with me, councillor, we need to be fully on top of that, that it's lawful what we're doing. So the GM has said that it is lawful. So I'll ask for a seconder for this amendment, please.
Oh, that's only part, there's three, Peter.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
To do with the same?
The same one, yeah.
Right,
The same item.
right. So it's in brief history?
No.
Oh, okay.
We then go over to page 3 of 6,
Yes,
and this is the end of number 7. And what is added at the end of number 7?
underneath the last paragraph, councillor?
Yeah, after the words requiring consent,
Yes,
this is to be added.
right.
It is understood that the heritage listing was intended for sections of state forests, national park and nature reserve, as evidenced by the notation on the listing owner / state government. The freehold landowner and New South Wales farmers are currently in discussion with the Office of Environment and Heritage to amend the listings to remove the listings from all freehand land affected across the 15 local government areas.
Well, once again, please respect council. I'll go to our acting GM for advice.
Mr. Mayor, through you, I'm not saying the information is incorrect, but just might seek some advice from the clear planning officer if she's aware that is correct.
And I think for the comments. And before I do, welcome to May as always, and thank you very much for the effort you put into this report. To May.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The amendments as proposed by Councillor McNish are really providing further information in this document, and it has come to our attention that there are certainly parcels of land that are listed under that state heritage listing. That's not a matter that council can change at this point in time. It is a matter for the state to deal with, and it's certainly acknowledged that those parties are following through with that. So it wouldn't hurt, or it doesn't. Not to our detriment to actually mention that within the report. And I will say that the planning proposal document is a draft, and it can be amended and changed. It often does when it goes backwards and forwards to the Department of Planning and Environment. Obviously, if there are any material changes to the intent of that report, it will come back to council, but we do often fine-tune and then I ask for more information and so forth. So there's no objection.
This is just adding to
Yeah.
information.
Thank you to May very much for those comments, and I want to note, councillors, of the advice we give from our staff. They do not vote, it is purely advice, and I really thank you to May for that. Councillor McNish, you've indicated another one.
One more, Peter. That's after the last paragraph, after paragraph 9.
On the same page, councillor?
Sorry. On the same page, yeah, down the bottom it says number 9,
Yes.
and this is added at the end of the paragraph.
So after development work was previously restricted.
And, however, this will restore the pre-existing rights of title that were inadvertently removed by the zoning of a perpetual lease in freehold.
Mr. Acting GM.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Through you, might just seek some further clarification from me, but my understanding is the changes were made as a result of the template LEP. I'd seek some confirmation from
Thank you, Tamar.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the current LEP provisions which were adopted and gazetted in 2013 were a conversion from a 1996 local environmental plan, which had those forestry provisions contained within it. And you'll see within the report, I've tried extremely hard to work out where they came from. That mapping was done by an external consultant to council in the 90s, in the early 90s, which started back in '88. So in terms of pre-existing rights, it may not necessarily be technically the correct term, because in effect that zoning has been in place since 1996. and through inquiries with the Department of Planning and Environment, they believe it was from information that came from forestry at the time. Prior to 1996, there was no planning scheme in effect in the rural areas of Tenterfield which zoned land as such. So the first zoning, if you like, under the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act did come into place in 1996, and it was that RU3 zone. So in terms of the pre-existing right, it may be a little confusing or misleading in terms of what they were.
Yes, Mr. Acton.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, it's been acknowledged, but if I can just get Councillor Burgess's wording back up for this third change, please. Mr. Mayor, subject to Councillor McNish, but I prefer to say that it's as a result of the adoption of the template LEP. Because of that uncertainty about the planning back in 1996.
Well, that doesn't change the intent of it, does it?
No, it doesn't change the intent, but it just, because of the uncertainty of what happened in 96, the current situation we're in is because we've adopted the template LEP. That's what's caused the conflict.
Okay, I'm happy with that.
So with that advice, councillor, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Acting Chair, are we taking number 3 out, or are we happy to leave it there?
Mr. Mayor, so I'm happy to leave number 3 there, but if we go to the second line, when I was check.
Completely removed.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Bear with us, councillors, it's important we get this right.
Sorry, I think out of the number 3, and the first line's okay. The second line, it's pre-existing rights on the title, and it's got the word, that word inadvertently. I'd rather say changed, rather put the following words, changed as a result of the adoption of the template LEP. Stop. Since we don't know really what happened prior to that in 1996.
That doesn't change the intent.
No, it doesn't change the intent.
I'm happy with that.
I'd rather hang it on the LEP, not knowing what was there before.
Okay.
And thank you, Mr. Acting GM, for your advice. And councillors, once again, be fully aware that with our Acting GM and our senior staff, they are here for advice. They do not vote. So their changes is only trying to help us get across the line with lawful, legal and lawful resolutions and amendments we make as a council. So I'll go back to you, Councillor McNish. You're the mover of that amendment. I'll call for a seconder for the amendment. Councillor Gary Berry, thank you. Councillor McNish, being the mover of the amendment, do you want to speak to the amendment?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Berry, being the seconder of the amendment, would you like to speak?
No, it's pretty clear.
Any speakers against? Okay, we'll put the amendment. All in favour? Against? Carried. The amendment's adopted. Those add-ons are there. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Well, it was unanimous.
Yeah, was it being a planning matter,
Yeah. So being planning matters, councillors, it will be, the votes will be recorded and was unanimous
Yes.
with the amendments. Okay. So now we'll go back with the amendments. It has been moved and seconded to deal with this. We are dealing with item ENV/17. So I hand over to our Chief Operating Officer to present this report. Mr. Chief Operating Officer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll do the handball to my...
As you do. And today I wasn't pleased, I just do that, I knew, so thank you.
Thank you, through Mr. Mayor. The report presented to Council today is seeking a resolution to forward the planning proposal document, which is the attachment document to the report, to the Department of Planning and Environment to proceed through what's referred to as the gateway process, and that is the process that all councils must follow when amending their local environmental plans. It's set down by the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act legislation and then the various guideline documents that the department puts forward for councils to follow. There is a brief outline of the process contained within the report of the steps that are required, but this is the first step, and being a gateway as such, the name indicates obviously this is the first step in the process. There's not a lot of background work that is generally required to get it to the gateway. That may come after the Department of Planning and Environment has actually reviewed the proposal and will come back to council with any additional requirements, which is reflected in that report there. So the report, as we're aware, is proposing to rezone all of our existing RU3 forestry zone land to RU1 primary production land, which will essentially allow for expanded forms of development across all of that land. It won't prohibit or restrict any future forestry uses, and will again open up some of that land as well. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Tamai, and thank you for the job you've done in this report. Councillors, any questions to our town planner to do with any questions to do with this report? No questions? I'll put the report, councillors. Sorry, Councillor Merritt.
Mr Mayor, this one, I wish to speak to the motion as well.
I'll allow that, councillor.
Just to clarify as to why council allowed RU3 zones to be placed over perpetual leases, our LEP consultant said RU3 zones were only over the state forest. No mention of perpetual leases. This is what my notes were saying. When we discussed this, I did presume that the consultant did due diligence. That was a mistake on my part.
Thank you for your comments, councillors. Councillors, if there's no more questions to our Chief Operating Officer or our town planner to do with this, the officer's recommendations there, all in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, councillors. Okay, councillors.
No, just automatically.
So, councillors, we'll go back to the start of our business paper and continue on. Someone go and please let Councillor Bromwich picture back in. Thank you, Commander. Welcome back, councillor. So in our hard copy, councillors, we go to page 7. It's item EC 010/17. Excuse me. It's unnamed right of carriageway, Oakley Drive, Tabulum. Can I have a mover in a second to deal with this item, please? Councillor Michael Petrie, thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Tom Peters, thank you. And I'll hand over to our Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Chief Operating Officer.
Thank you, Mr Mayor and councillors. A form of this report was brought to council at the last meeting, 24th of May, and the intent of the report was to effectively initiate the process of making sure that an unnamed carriageway at this point in time be given a name for the purpose of emergency services identification of the locality. There was a bit of a question at the last meeting as to the extent of community consultation and perhaps the process that we needed to go through. This report, as it stands now, in the recommendation, hopefully articulates to your satisfaction just where we are in the process, and I'll recommend the report to you as stated.
Thank you, Andre. Councillors, any questions to Andre to do with the report? No questions? All happy to be in favour of the officer's recommendation? Against? Carried. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, we move on to page 11 in your hard copy. It's item EC 011/17. It's Lease of Council Control Land Road Reserve. Can I have a move in a second to deal with this item, please? Councillor Sawyer, I thank you. Second by Councillor Bromwich Petrie, I thank you. And once again, I'll hand over to our Chief Operating Officer, Andre.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mayor and councillors, council received a request on behalf of the owners of 89 Rouse Street to effectively allow them to put up fencing. That's what it amounts to. The owners would effectively like to have in place a lease over road reserve that is vested in council at this point in time. I know the report, as it states, talks about a bit of a question mark over who owns the land. At the time of writing the report, the officer in question had to go and do some checks on that, so you'll see the recommendation states in item 1, subject to RMS providing a lease to council on the land affected. That effectively has to be removed, and any reference to a sublease being removed, that needs to be removed as well. So council does have the right to lease this land. In effect, that right is given by section 145(3) of the Roads Act, and that has been confirmed by RMS. So as it stands now, these people basically want to just continue to, I suppose, tend and care for that section of the road reserve and align property boundaries. So we're putting up a fence and align that with other properties in the area. So I would commend this report to you, and thank you.
Question to our Chief Operating Officer to do with the report, Councillor Bronwyn, Petrie.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I presume this has happened through just some traditional use of the land where it was presumed it was part of the property. And if so, I was wondering if instead of looking at a lease, and I see they're getting a valuation, can we look at a purchase option?
Councillor, I cannot speak for the traditional use. What I do know is the lady from the gallery sort of nodding her head back there. But having said that, I do know from what's been advised to us today that there's been substantial caring for the land with regards to the maintenance of the area, etc. That said, a lease is what is appropriate because we're talking about road reserve here. Whilst council is the road authority, we would only ever go down the path of relinquishing land in a road reserve if there was never any aspirations to possibly change the alignment of the road. So you do want to keep your road reserves intact. And we would have to get, if we were going to even contemplate selling the land, we'd have to get the concurrence of RMS in the case. So I honestly believe that the way forward is a lease at this point in time, and that gives a measure of certainty to the landowner and allows this process to continue.
You have another question, Councillor?
Yes, thank you, Smith. Andre said that we'd have to delete some of the reference to the RMS subleasing in the motion. Is that correct now from what you said?
Yes, so what I'd be seeking the council to delete from this motion is just that first line subject to RMS providing a lease to council on the affected land. So just take that out.
Right.
Just remove that, and also on the second line, just remove that word sublease. So the motion becomes that council approve the lease of the land as identified. So just take that sub, sorry.
Okay. Thank you for your advice on that. So we're happy with those changes, Council? Thank you, Wonder. Councillors, any more questions to our Chief Operating Officer to do with this report? Before I ask for vote, Councillors, I just feel that it's, and I commend the property owners for coming forward because they're for one, they're doing the right thing, and it's something that they just want to see until they continue on with the maintenance of that area, and I think that's a good thing. So the regular officer's recommendations there, councillors, all in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, we move on to page 14 in your hard copy. It's item EC 012/17, Patterson's Road Reserve update. Can I have a move in a second here, please, to deal with this? Councillor Sawyer again, I thank you for moving, and Councillor Gary Very second, thank you. And once again, I'll hand over to our Chief Operating Officer. You're getting hammered this morning, so we'll keep going with you. Okay, so all over you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, most of you will be aware that throughout New South Wales and certain parts of Tenerife Shire Council, there are roads that are not in a proper road reserve, basically roads that are sitting on private property. This has happened for any number of reasons over time, and what Council is gradually seeking to do over time is remedy that. Council does allocate a certain amount of budget each year to dealing with issues like this. This particular property in question, called Road Effective Cassons Road, this has been on council's radar since 2000, as I understand it. The year 2000 has been various dialogue occurring over that period for the best part of 13 to 17 years. So we're at the stage now where we're moving forward on a resolution that was passed by council back in September, 20th September 2016.
That's correct.
This report is just basically an update as to where the process is at. So I would commend it to you. We have budget to facilitate the process, and that is by virtue of what's left in the current year's budget for this type of activity, plus a little bit eating into next year's budget, assuming council pass the budget today. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. Councillors, the report. Is there any questions to do with the report? Councillor Bronwyn Petrie.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's in the body, it's in the background, nothing wrong with the recommendation or fully support. Where it refers to a big simple $1, that, and it's again on the second page under council implications. But you bring this up after that meeting, which was our first one last year.
Yeah.
Fee simple actually refers to freehold land, or the highest title of the land that it refers to. Fee, what it should have said was at a nominal fee of $1. And I never ever want to see another document come out that refers to fee simple as being $1. Fee simple is a legal term that refers to freehold land. So in any future correspondence, can we please refer to the dollar as being at a nominal fee of $1 or a nominal cost or a nominal rate? Fee simple has been incorrectly used in the documentation, and yeah, we can just make sure it never happens. And it's certainly nothing to do with Andre. It was something that pre-existed at that meeting last year, which I raised at the time, but it would have required a rescission motion, etc. So we just let stay. But I just want to make sure it doesn't happen again. Thank you.
What I'm always careful about, councillors, is all our notes, your comments, councillor, is us as council telling our staff what to do. I do take on board, and you've explained what it means. I will ask Andre that if there's an explanation why that's been kept in there, it could be old school, I don't know. Did you want to comment, Andre?
Mr Mayor, in short, I'm taking Bronwyn's comments, Councillor Bronwyn's comments, as stated. I've got no explanation as to why the comment, the wording is being put in there as it is. It's probably just a notice of.
Sorry, Smith, no, I'm not direct. It's our fault because as councillors we approved the original motion, which was wording put forward, and that wording has continued through. I just want to make sure that it's noted that it was incorrect in wording at the time, and just to ensure that it's correct from now on in. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bronwyn Petrie. Councillors, any more questions to our Chief Operating Officer to do with this report? If no, all happy to the council receive and note the information. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, we move on to page 17, your hard copy. It's EC 013/17. Got a move in a second to deal with this item, please. Councillor Michael Petrie, thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Sawyer, thank you. And I'll hand over to our Chief Corporate Officer, and welcome to today, as always, Cora, and to present his report.
Thank you, Mr Mayor and councillors. The report's there for your review. We did have a notice of motion which needs a little bit further clarification at the intent of council, and hopefully we've got a recommendation that needs to be approved today. Happy to take any further questions on that.
Question to our Chief Corporate Officer to do with the report. Councillor Berry.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to make an amendment to that recommendation.
To the recommendation?
Yeah.
Right, do you want to flag your amendment? Give us a...
Yeah, that council make a submission with a view to transferring unused sections of the TSR to council ownership.
So the council make a submission, right, so to change where the review is. So you're talking to take that out and put that in?
Yeah, that's on this one here. It follows my original motion that council make a submission with a view to transferring unused sections of the TSR to council ownership.
So you want to replace the officer's recommendation with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The lawful, Mr.
Yes,
Jim?
through you to me, yes.
Okay, we have a second for the amendment. Councillor Tom Peters. Councillor Berry, do you want to speak to the amendment?
Yes. This is only a submission. It's nothing more than a submission. I presume there'll be numerous submissions. There's virtually no travelling stock on a lot of TSRs. Where there is, be it grazing or TSR, on the TSR or paddock fenced, we have no interest. A lot of the TSR is unfenced and used, or is fenced I should say, and used by stock owners as grazing paddocks, but there are miles and miles of stock route that are not suitable for grazing, that haven't been managed for the last, I suppose, 20, 30 years. They're overgrown and will never be used for stock route. There's places where we've got the National Trail. The only place you can use a National Trail is down the middle of Mount Lindsay. And in places near my house, the last time stock were moved there, they followed my boundary up and they had to follow the Mount Lindsay itself right down the middle of the road. Because the scrubs that thick, they just can't use the TSR as it was meant to be used. So I'm just saying we should make a submission to just transfer ownership of that, and we can do what we like with the plan if we ever get it. Thank you.
Councillor Tom Peters has been the second. Did you want to speak to the amendment?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think Councillor Berry said all is necessary.
Any speakers against the amendment? Councillor Greg Sawyer.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think that the officer's recommendation is broad enough for us to be able to encompass everything we need to do. The only change I'd make to the recommendation is between the words desire and liaise, insert the word to, expressing a desire to liaise with local land services further on any identified surplus assets. That gives us the opportunity to make submission if we want to purchase. I think what Councillor Vieira is recommending in his amendment is very inclusive, and it could possibly open us up to unknown costs of purchase, etc. I know it's only a recommendation, but I think the officer's recommendation is sufficiently broad enough for us to say, whoa, it's too expensive, there's costs there that we're not prepared for, and bail out. I think the amendment as it stands, very prescriptive.
Thank you, Councillor Sawyer. Any other speakers against the amendment? Councillor, I'm dealing with this amendment at the moment. So
Well, I'll speak against then.
okay, Councillor, so I'm taking you as speaking against this amendment.
Yes, in its current form, and
Yes.
I was wanting to flag an amendment that would join the two together. Because at the moment, unlike in Gary's area, perhaps there are still large sections of the TSR that are still used and very important, which is why the first part of the officer's recommendation is important, but with the addition of one word and then a deletion at the end and a replacement of that. So that's why I would be speaking against the proposed amendment.
Right.
And I was going to flag an amendment to the original motion. So, so as it currently stands, I can't agree with the amendment because it would lose the effect on a lot of people who currently use it, and not let us put in our review the desire to maintain that particularly well maintained and viable, which is very important because it's not happening at the moment. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor, what I'll do, and I thank you, Councillor Colin Petrie, for the comments you've made. With the changes, yours is a complete different amendment, or is it an add-on to what Councillor Berry's got up there? Please bear with me, I'm trying to move
What I
forward
was
here.
going to say is you keep our officer's recommendation that the council makes a submission to the review of the New South Wales Travelling Stock Reserve Review, expressing support for the New South Wales Government direction to ensure that the used network, so add the word used, remains connected, viable and well maintained.
Yeah, I'm not dealing with the one, I'm just...
Oh, sorry, and that the unused sections of the TSR be transferred to council.
Okay.
That was my proposed.
In fairness, I'll just take some advice from meeting procedure with Frank Jen. Mr. Jen, what I need to do here is we're dealing with the first amendment put up, we need to vote on that, don't we?
Mr Mayor, we need to vote on the First Amendment, and if the amendment's not what Councillor Bronwyn Petrie is proposing, as well, we call it for shadow amendment.
Okay.
We need to deal with the First Amendment first, and then Councillor Petrie.
So, councillors, where we're at?
Unless these guys accept my amendment to their
please bear with me. Where we've had two speakers against, and I take you, Councillor Brian Petrie speaking against, and that's, we've had 2 for and 2 against. What I'll do, I'll go to closing now, before we put this amendment, and to Councillor Berry, be the mover of the amendment. Councillor?
I'm just simply referring to the unused sections of the Stockbridge. And there is a lot of that. I'm not referring to the spots that are used, just the unused sections. As for management of it, there's virtually no management necessary in a lot of it. It will cost us nothing. It hasn't been managed for 30 years by the TSR. Council actually been the only thing that managed the roadside verges. It's the only management they've had for far back as I can remember. I've been there for 40 plus years. So
I thought you were born there. Righto, councillors, we're going to deal with this amendment. It's been moved by Councillor Berry, second by Tom Peters. Councillor Peters, I'm sorry. The council made a submission with a view to transferring unused sections of the TSR to council ownership. All in favour of the amendment? Put your hands up, please, if you're in favour of the amendment. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, against? Sorry. The amendment's up. The amendment now becomes the recommendation, correct, Mr. Acting GM?
Yes, correct, now it becomes a motion.
Okay. Shall we do? So all in favour of the recommendation? Beware, councillors, that now replaces the officer's recommendation, that amendment. That is now, like it's the motion, it's the recommendation. So all in favour? Against? Carried. Okay. Councillors, we move on to page 19 in your hard copy. It's item EC 014/17. It's the May 2017 Infrastructure Engineering Planning and Services Progress Update. Can I have a move and a second here, please, to deal with this item? Councillor Murray, I thank you. Second by Councillor, you voting, Councillor Petrie, Councillor Bronwyn Petrie, thank you. I hand over to Chief Operating Officer Wanda. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors. Going back to the last council meeting, councillors, there was a resolution to reinstate a monthly engineering environment report. This report that is tabled here today is our first iteration of that. It doesn't necessarily seek to replicate the format of the past, but dare I say, I'll be guided in the future as to the extent of the level of detail that you want to see. What I've done today is just taken some advice from various officers as to what are the major accomplishments in their sections of the organisation. I'll probably put a bit of personal time into the roads space, the roads and bridges space. So, look, I would just suggest to you this is for your information, so that you are a little bit more informed. And if you want to sort of delve into the detail of specifics, I'm happy to take some of those questions on notice and have an offline discussion to elaborate on more detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre, for bringing this forward. It is something that councillors did want to see, that it is informative, and I will speak it before we vote on this again. Councillors, any questions to the Chief Operating Officer to deal with this report? Councillor McNish?
Just a couple, Mr. Mayor. On noxious weeds, there's no mention at all of fireweed, which has become a massive problem in the Shire, especially in the last 12 months. And I notice there's on lots and lots of road reserves. This stuff's got such a fine flower. When the wind gets behind it, seeds just go everywhere. And any of the people, councillors or staff who travel over the coast and to see what can happen when this stuff overtakes paddocks. And I notice there's more and more of it this year. So I know there's no mention of noxious weeds there. So maybe you could look into that, Andre. The other one...
Councillor, I'm sorry, when I'm saying purely a question, is it noxious in the Shire? Is fireweed noxious?
No, it should be.
Should be. Righto. Please respect me asking that, because I'm fully aware of it.
It's noxious to cattle, it'll kill cattle. So. The second one, Andre, just in the past with the grading, they've always done an average kilometres per day of grading. I wonder if you might be able to improve that in future. Let us know what's being done on average each day. Apart from that, I think the report is good information.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Berry, you indicated the question.
Yes.
To do with the report, councillor? Yep.
First of all, I'd like to answer a bit of Councillor Manish's question there. There is a biological control for fireweed, but the problem is it kills the native fireweed, so they have not released it. The second is a question to Andre. This came out of the meeting with Jim the other night. You answered half the question here. Is the width of Wallaby Creek Road is 5 metres, but what is the load rate? There's a few farmers there that worried about they won't be able to get their produce across the bridge.
This is with the new bridge, councillor.
On the new bridge there, Wallaby Creek Bridge.
Yeah.
Councillor, look, I would have to double check on the load rating, but can I suggest to you that any bridge that I've ever been associated with, when you go and replace the superstructure and the substructure, the piles, the foundations, you're designing normally for current state standards. That's according to the Bridge Labour Code, AS 5100, and you're normally designing to SN 1600 standard, which carries B doubles. So, you know, at least the old T44 loader and semi-trailer will cover that.
It's just that I could not answer the question at the meeting. I presume that would be the case.
Any more questions to the operating officer to do with the report? Councillor Bronwyn, Petrie?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Congratulations, Andre. It is a very comprehensive report. Under 7, with the roads and bridges, I just wondering with the grading, we often have dramas with fireweed and love grass, and getting the policy, do we have the policy now embedded in council that grades grade from clean to dirty, not the other way around, so that weeds that are prevalent around town aren't drained out into the bush where they're relatively clean weed-free areas, and if not, can we somehow put that policy in place?
Any question?
Councillor, I'd have to go back and check just where we are at with our policies. I've had the opportunity in my first month of council to get around to some of our road network, certainly not all of it, but and there's been some discussions about the way in which council grades its roads, and just these discussions have been with any number of different parties. Dare I say that there's obviously room for improvement, and one of the problems council does have is that when you get rainfall, from what I'm seeing, you get in some areas significant amounts of erosion, and if you've got any sort of gravel pavement there, that tends to be eroded and washed out into the drains. Now, typically, graders are meant to sort of pick up the good stuff in the drains and put it back on the road, crown the road, reform the road. Now, if that is creating an issue, frankly, for weeds, then we've probably got to have a think about that and just readdress that. So, having a look at this a little bit further in the future, thank you for your comment.
Look, thank you. It was specifically really with Timbera Road, because once you get past the Timbera homestead, there's hardly a weed out there, but we've had to stop graders previously, as Mr Watson will know, and actually make them go to the end of it and come back, so that we're not draining the fireweed out on the machine itself.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, it'd be the councillor it's on all our roads.
That's right, and that was just a case in point, which treated it.
Noted.
It's
Councillor Berry, we'll go back. You've indicated you have another question. We'll allow that.
Thank
To
you.
do with the report, councillor?
Yes. It follows on from Councillor Petrie's question. Years ago, the mountains, you did not have any love grass or cooler-type grass growing up there, and one of our resident engineers stood for council and he suggested that we should put jutta bars on our graders. I've got no idea what he's talking about, but that was one of the suggestions. Is that such a term, Andre?
Councillor, that may be a little colloquialism of Terrible Shire Council. I've been in the industry 30 odd years, I've heard that term.
I mean, he was an engineer, civil engineer. He did work on machinery, so I've got no idea what they were. I presume they shook grass and seeds off.
Sorry, did you say shutter bars?
Jutta, I think he said.
Jutta bar.
Yes, no.
No, it doesn't ring a bell. And that said, I don't know what he's talking about, so I can certainly ask the question in our fleet section.
Thank you, councillors. No more questions to do with the report. I apologise, councillor Sawyer.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. It's not a question as much as thanking Andre for the reintroduction of this report and the detail that we've got. It's most welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Soy, and I join you to get a little bit more, because I travelled yesterday, Andre, to do the work that's been done down River Tree and the Razorback and the work that the contractors are doing down there on the drain work. I hope that the community down there appreciate, especially that drainage work, because it is lengthy and they're in a very ordinary terrain down there, and I noted that the work that they are doing. So please pass it on to the operators and the contractors, please. Much appreciated. Thank you. Councillors, be aware in your hard copy the report goes from page 19 to page 26, and so we're all happy to receive a note. Against, carried. Thank you. Councillors, we move on to page 27 in your hard copy. It's item ENV 7/17. I'll move in a second here, please, to deal with this item. Councillor Berry, I thank you. Second, please. Councillor Michael Petrie, thank you. I'll hand over to our Chief Operating Officer, Andre.
Mr Mayor and Councillors, thank you. This report, as you know, is a monthly report that's provided to Council just to provide you with the status of where planning applications are within the Territorial Shire Council. I suppose from my viewpoint, there's three probably takeaways or highlights that I've taken notice of, and hopefully you do as well. It was just one, the number of applications that are received during the month. There were 7 applications received during the month of May. The number of applications awaiting outstanding advice. I don't so much look at the number of applications as I look at what is holding up the process. There's third parties involved awaiting recommendation from RMS or the like, and that will take its natural course. We can certainly encourage, but we can't sort of push people to. The other thing that's of relevance is the statistics, the development statistics. Now, I note, well, you should note that certainly we're comparing between 2015-16 to this current year, we're certainly ahead of past achievements in terms of the development value. So I think that's a good positive sign for the Shire going forward. So I commend the report to you.
Question to our Chief Operating Officer to do with the report, Councillor Tom Peters.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm just wondering, in this application currently outstanding, the top one, crematorium, where are they going to situate that thing? I hope you want the main street.
Councillor, I'm sure it's on the main street. That's it. Look, the detail as to the location, I'll have to take advice on that. I'm not across that level of detail, I'm sorry.
To the south of the town, Councillor.
So what would be that one?
No, south. So it is. Councillor McNish, did you indicate, did you want to have a question?
I was going to answer the question, but you've obviously done it.
Well, the address is there, the location is there, it's not hard to work out. Yeah. Okay, any more questions to the Chief Operating Officer? Councillor Berry, to do with the report? Yeah. Question?
Yes, just one question.
Thank you.
Would it be possible with your statistics to put them in a graph form? It looks just a lot easier. Reads easier, isn't it?
Just Councillor, we'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Questions? Councillors, no more questions? All happy to receive and note the report. Councillors, all in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, the next item is one that we've done to do with the environmental plan. That goes from page 32 in your hard copy to 36, councillors. We move on to page 37 in your hard copy, councillors. It's item ENV 9/17, about Lindsay Roadways Collection Service update. Councillors, can I have a move and a second to deal with this? Councillor Sawyer, thank you. Seconded by Councillor McNish, and I thank you. And once again, I'll hand over to our Chief Operating Officer, Andre.
Okay, thank you, Mr Mayor and Councillors. Councillors, this report comes off the back of a report that was delivered to Council last Council meeting and effectively was put on hold pending further information. I personally, after the last meeting, went back and had a look at the feedback that was received from the community. I had a look at all the comments and reviewed the statistics. What was clear to me, councillors, is that there is a bit of mixed feelings out in the community about this service. The mixed feelings seem to be arising primarily from people's consideration of cost, whether they feel it's needed or not. But then there's other members of the community that definitely do value the service. They see the writing on the wall in terms of an ageing population, and they are appreciative of the opportunity that's being afforded by council. So I suppose I was faced with the situation, do we look at a situation where we have all or nothing, where we put forward something that the community is already sounding words of caution in terms of the cost of the service? Do we sort of chuck the baby out with the bathwater because it's too expensive for the community? Or do we look at some sort of level of compromise? Now, what I did do in this report here is take on notice what Council was talking about, re-user pays. I know there's a desire in some areas to go down the path of user pays for a number of services. That said, what we did do was we looked at what's called the marginal costs. When trying to come up with a user pay situation, we looked at the marginal costs. What were the additional costs of providing this service? Now, additional costs, we know that a truck goes up that road, but there's time to provide this service. There's the operator's time involved in slowing down, stopping, picking up. There's the cost of the truck involved. So just looking at the marginal cost, we determined what was the real cost of providing this service. And then I took on notice people's comments about just how much waste they were generating, how much the service was really needed. The fact that any number of people were saying, look, we don't generate enough rubbish to warrant the service on a weekly basis. So what's being put forward to you here is a compromise in terms of let's see how this goes over the next 2 years at a revised level of service, hopefully at a price that is a little bit more understanding of people's needs in the rural community. So I commend to you the recommendation as is stated, and we'll see where it goes. Thank you.
Councillor Sawyer.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move a addition rather than an amendment, I suppose, and thank Andre for the detailed report he's presented with us and the compromise for the best wishes of all parties involved out there. Not being a member of the last council, I don't know what went on, but since I've been on here, just resembles a dog's breakfast, and I think we need to consider the wishes of the community out there.
Yep.
So my additional paragraph, which I'll give you, Nolan, add to the 3 points under the officer's recommendation, number 4, that this waste collection service be introduced on a no precedence basis, and that no later than 2 months before the completion of this 2-year temporary service, a properly worded survey to be sent out to all residents, both those using the service and those not using it, to fully canvass the interest and support in making it a permanent service thereafter.
Leave it out.
Well, that's what I said.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Councillor, while we're talking up in fairness and please respect where I'm at to all councillors, I'll let you, I know I'm not going to do it, it's not an amendment, I'm happy to take it as an add-on to 4, as in 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want to speak to that just for a moment, and I'll ask for a second.
Yeah, just the no precedence basis, I'm very aware that if we introduce something that other people may want, I live in town, for instance, and you don't want a bin, they want to opt out. This was a particular circumstance that was foisted on people with very little consultation, if any, and the implementation process was on TV for all to see, with bins being brought back and all this sort of stuff. I think council did not do the right thing by the whole process for whatever reason. This is an opportunity to make all people get what they want and not have to have something foisted on them. The intent of my addition there is that give it a 2-year proper trial. Those that want it opt in at the charges they're aware of. Those that don't want it have the opportunity not to accept it. Over 2 years, we then do a proper survey because I'm ashamed that I'm a member of a council that sent out that survey, to be honest. It was a joke. The survey should be properly worded, giving everybody the opportunity to say, yes, I'm in, and they know what they're up for in costs, and we won't be revisiting it again. after that survey is accepted and put to the motion in 2 years' time.
Do I have a second for this add-on? Councillor Berry. Second, thank you. Before I go to you, Councillor Berry, being the second to speak, I do commend you, Councillor Sawyer, because I do think it'll only add strength to the resolution of the officer's recommendation, and we need to get there and do that. I think 2-year gigs is plenty of time. It'll only make it stronger, and I think it will make the people wanting to use it stronger. That's only my personal view. Councillor Berry.
No, I do not wish to speak, Mr Mayor. I've got my own views and they might become tainted with what I want, so.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, councillors. Officer's recommendations there. I've taken Councillor Sawyer's add-on. It's been seconded by Councillor Berry. Councillor Sawyer has presented that. Not so much a debate. If someone wants to speak against it, I'm happy with that. It is Councillor Bronwyn. Peter, are you speaking against something? Or, okay. So are you speaking? You got a question to the director, to the our chief operating officer?
Yes.
You have a question to do with the report?
Question and a answer element. Depending on the answer.
Oh, I'll take the question, Councillor. First.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Operating Officer Andre. It's just with regard to the $290 per annum for a fortnightly roadside pickup as opposed to a $297 per annum for the weekly one. And I know you've got details here regarding user pays, costings, and what it's actually costing to do the service. Well, from previous reports, it actually wasn't costing us nothing because the truck was already going to Urbanville and coming back. In fact, this was seen as subsidising the service to Urbanville by being able to stop along the way and pick up some bins with extra fees provided. So my flagged amendment is that we change it to $297 per annum for a weekly roadside pickup for those who wish to do it, because I don't see how it could possibly be an additional cost. They're still getting back to town in plenty of time. They were going there anyway, and that's why it's not a precedent, because it's not just a specific garbage run. It was a truck that was going past anyway, so it doesn't set that precedent.
Thank you for the comment, Councillor. Question. Look, I made the comment a little bit earlier about marginal costs. Right? That is a term that economists use about those incremental extra costs. I'm hearing you about your comments saying that the truck was going up there anyway. Yes, the truck was going up there anyway, but what the truck was not doing and what the council was not doing is that they're not stopping, right? They're not stopping and picking up things. And the reality of it is whether we are doing this or not, yes, we have the cost of the truck going up, but the reality of it is when that truck gets back, that worker can be deployed to go and do other things. I mean, he's not just coming back and sitting around. And at the end of the day, when you look at the costs of the service, you've got to look at what these extra over-the-top marginal costs are. And I have said that what we've done is we've looked at purely the time, right, the operator's time in slowing down, picking up the bin, right, and the time value of the truck usage. Now, these are costs that only relate to providing that service. You might say, this is additional over the top, helps defray the cost of the service up there. Yes, look, we have to go up there to pick up once a week, but that said, right, if you're going to provide this service, it takes time. It takes officers' time, it takes truck time. Those time issues are, you've heard the same time as money. So we've looked at those only to come up with what is a true user pays cost. Now, if council from last meeting said they wanted to look at the user pays situation, that's what I've gone and done. I've looked at what the real user pays situation is, and it is what it is. In reality, it's twice. It's not $214 per annum, right, for a weekly service. That's for a fortnightly service. So if people wanted a service on a weekly basis, right, you would effectively be charging people $438 per annum. Now, the community sounded loud and clear in that survey, but they weren't happy with $297 per annum. So they're definitely not going to be happy with $438. So that said, it's my challenge was to look at the total comments to say, well, okay, what is people's capacity to pay, and what is the real cost of operation, and what is the real service that the community needs? I'm hearing the community saying that, look, the reality of it is we don't fill our bins up a lot of the time, so why would you want a weekly service to continue in those circumstances? So I've used this term fit for purpose with some of my colleagues in the roads area, and I'll say that this service is probably fit for purpose for what we're talking about. Thank you.
Councillor Michael Petrie.
I'd like to comment on Naomi's ideas of this thing. I only have one little question. I think is the 120 litre bin big enough for a fortnightly service? I thought, you know, it's sometimes a bit underdone when you, even at home, when you get them every week.
Yeah, look, Councillor, that question has been raised, and I thought about, you know, whether in the future we might contemplate a 240 litre bin service. At this point in time, that is not costed, and I don't think it should be costed. We need to evaluate where we stand with the 120 litre service. I know in other communities, when we're talking urban communities now, right, a lot of them have the 120 litre bin, 120 or 140 I think it is, and that is a fortnightly service, right? I know down in Victoria, which is you know, my old stomping ground, the city councils provide a fortnightly service for this general waste collection, and I'm just hearing the community say, I don't fill up my bin now on a weekly basis, so I'm just trying to take notice of the community.
Thank you very much.
Councillor, thank you, Councillor Michael Petrie. Councillor Tom Peters.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick observation. There'll be an additional cost because the people that opt in will have to have new bins so they can be identified, but otherwise everybody else will be putting bins out for the boat to pick up. Things have to be identified.
I'd like some comment from the Chief Operating Officer there, because it's a fair question, Councillor, but I'm sure there's an answer.
Yeah, look, Councillor, once we've done the survey of who wants in, what we can do is that we can just look at a simple system, and I'll take advice from our team at the operations level as to what that simple system might ultimately pan out as. Whether we have some sort of a stamp or a sticker that goes on the existing bins, it's a once-off process. I'm sure we can design something simple that is a bit hard to forge or what have you. I know in some other councils they have electronic tagging systems that attach to the truck. I don't believe we should be going down that path. That's a whole lot of extra cost for no real gain. You've got to trust that your community, by and large, will seek to do the right thing. So we would set up a simple system and then monitor that. I mean, I can certainly give the operator current advice as to what lots, what street addresses, or roadside addresses have the service. They will pick up over time who's trying to exploit the system, and we'll deal with that when it comes, if it comes. Thank you.
Just before I go here, Councillor Berry, just to comment, Councillor Peters, because of which are already paid for, the bins that were sent out to start, and then the bins that were returned, they're still sitting up there, so we already own them. So any other bins that are going to go out for the people who wish to support the opt-in, opt-out, when those bins are there. So we've already paid for them, and I'm being corrected if I'm wrong. Councillor Berry?
Without getting into the debate of whether we should or shouldn't have this service, Andre, I've been asked by residents up in the north in places that they want to, these are not people that are not getting the present service, they would like the service expanded. Would that be possible, or would you be out of time with the service?
Councillor, look, I'd have to go back and just talk to people on the ground as to what time is available. Bear in mind that if you're talking about expanding the service, the marginal costs, like I spoke about earlier, are going to be over and above what is here, because you're actually going and doing the whole, run, right, from scratch, right? So you might find that the costs are more expensive than what is here. So that's the only caution that I would put on expanding the service. We just have to go and do our homework, Councillor.
Just to add to that, there's a few isolated roads up there where people look at the road and they're not getting the service now. They were thinking about putting their business, getting a bin on the side of the Mount Lindsay. Yeah, so they've got to actually travel 3 or 4 k's rather than 60 k's to Dartmouth Legume or Liston.
Can I, Andre, I'm sorry, before I go to you, Councillor, and that's, to me, that's the most practical thing. We go out here to Black Swamp without naming our residents. Residents have contacted council and are doing exactly that. They've even written their name on the bin. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. They've got a service, they're happy to drive a few k's down to the Mount Lindsay, the bin gets picked up, they pick it up empty, take it home. That's all. Andre, I'm sorry, Councillor. Andre?
Yes, councillors, look, I don't see a problem with what you're talking about, Councillor Berry there. It just adds to the uptake of the service, and so that's something that we could look at if the community wanted that.
Okay, councillors. Just going to come to you, Councillor Petrie. Now, Councillor Petrie, Bronwyn Petrie, you had a question, which you had involvement with our Chief Operating Officer, and hopefully he answered it, and you were flagging an amendment. In fairness to you, how are you going now?
Still intend on having the amendment, thank you.
Okay, which part of the officer's recommendation, Councillor? Yes?
I'd like to replace user pays optional fee to $297 per annum for ratepayers on the Mount Lindsay Road, for those wanting replace fortnightly to weekly. Currently, people in the rural surroundings of Tenterfield can have the annum registration of $297, and they're picked up on a specific judgment. The people on the Mount Lindsay have currently been trialling a weekly pickup on a service that was already going past their door to get to Urbanwood. So I don't see, really, given this is all a whole new field, I don't see why they should only get a fortnightly service for something that goes past every week, where that's what the trial has been, and the truck was already there. It's not a specific garbage run like was introduced around the Tenterfield rural area. So I don't think the Mount Lindsay people should be treated any differently, and that would be why. And we've actually had quite a number of letters come to us about effective ratepayers pleading to maintain the weekly service for various reasons, including hygiene and volume. So I would recommend my amendment for $297 per annum for a weekly roadside pickup, as has been happening. Thank you.
So there, Councillor, so we all know, so they're the two changes. Instead of the 290, it's 297 per annum.
Yep.
And then we go along and as far as wanting a fortnightly, it's wanting a weekly. Okay.
As has been.
Still with the 120 litre bin?
Yep.
Okay. Councillors, there's the amendment to the first section 1. Is there a second for the amendment? Councillor John McNish. Councillor, I think in fairness, I'll go to the second. You presented your amendment. Councillor McNish, do you want to speak to the amendment?
No.
Speakers against the amendment? I need a speaker against, actually. With no speakers against the amendment, I'll go back to the move of the amendment. Closing, please. You've set it up? Thank you. Okay, councillors, the amendment's there. Mr. Acting GM, so we do the amendment and then we move the whole recommendation?
For me, yes, the amendment is there, it should be voted on first.
Okay. So councillors, and be aware, I didn't use it as an amendment because I felt the consensus was there with number 4 from Councillor Sawyer, so it's added into that recommendation. So we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Councillor Bronwyn Petrie has moved an amendment with those 2 changes, and I will repeat it. The user pays, and correct me if I'm wrong, Councillor Bronwyn, user pays optional fee instead of 290 of 297 per annum for ratepayers on Mount Lindsay Road for those wanting a weekly roadside. Correct? That's the amendment. Okay. All in favour of the amendment? Against? The amendment's up. So now we put the recommendation with 1, 2, 3, 4 councillors. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, councillors, and thank you for your report, Andre. Councillors? Yep. We move on to page 41 in your hard copy, councillors. And it's item GOV 33/17, so it's the finance and accounts. I'll move in a second, please, to deal with this. Councillor Gary Berry, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Michael Petrie. And welcome, Andrew, also. It's the time when we're doing this. And I hand over to our Chief Corporate Officer, Kyle.
Thank you very much. So in accordance with clause 212 of the Local Government Regulations 2005, the responsible accounting officer must provide a written report setting out details of the money that council has invested under section 2625. So attachment 10 in your information reports actually outlines your investments there. The recommendation is that council receive an overview report finance and accounts for the period ending 31st of May 2007.
Thank you, colleague. Councillors, any questions to comment to do with the report? All happy to receive a note? In favour? Against? Carried. Page 43, councillors, it's item GOV 34/17, Basic Expenditure Report. Got to move in the second, please, to deal with this item. Councillor Bronwyn, I thank you. Seconded by Councillor Greg Sawyer. And once again, I hand over to Chief Corporate Officer, Kylie.
Thank you very much, sir. The Corporate Officer's recommendation there that council receive a note the posted expenditure report for the period also ended 31st of May. The report does contain the variance under gravel roads that are bring that to your attention.
Questions to our Chief Corporate Officer to deal with the report? Councillor Berry.
With the gravel road section there, is any of that, we can get any of that back from the state government with our flood claims, or is that extra what we're going to fall here?
I'll pass over to the Chief Operating
Thank you, he says.
Yes, thank you, Colin.
Sorry.
Councillor, my understanding there is a number of storm events, delivery events dating back to March and April, for which council has flagged as flood damage money that might well be recruited against flood damage opportunities. So that is being dealt with. So the short answer to your question is hopefully yes.
Thank you, Andre. Councillor Bronwyn, did you have a question? The same. Okay, so you're good. Okay, councillors, any more questions to do with the report to our Chief Corporate Officer? All in favour? Happy to receive a note? Against? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, move on to page 45 in your hard copy. To adopt an operational plan 21718 delivery program 17 to 21. It's item GOV 35/17. Can I move in a second here to deal with this, please? Councillor Vera, thank you. Second, please. Councillor Sawyer, thank you. And once again, I'll hand over to Chief Corporate Officer, Colin.
Thank you very much. So this is an addendum to the report that we've done at the last meeting. It says that particular report had additional workshop on the delivery and operational plan. And we've made 2 amendments to the previous officer's recommendation, which included that council endorses the changes made to the delivery program 2017-2021 and the operational plan 2017-2018 as a result of the exhibition period, and adopt the annual budget summary by service and the full-year capital program. So what we endeavoured to do was to actually provide a bit more information to the long-term financial plan to give further clarity around what was there. We also received some other commentary, and another section has been added in the account plan as a result of representations from the council.
Thank you, Colin. Questions to our Chief Corporate Officer to do with the report? Question, Councillor?
I've got a few questions.
How many, Councillor?
Well, 3, I think there is.
Well, I'll allow, Councillor, I'll allow your first one. Councillor Bronwyn Petrie, did you indicate a question?
Yes.
What I'll do, Councillor, I'll allow I'll allow 2. And then I'll go to Councillor Bronwyn, then I might come back to you.
Hopefully we're all asking the same question.
Well, mate.
With the operational plan, page 31, performance measures, it says benchmark their own source revenue 70%. I've only ever seen 60% for our own source revenue. I'm just wondering if that's a typo or just something we're aiming for in the future.
It's certainly the aim for the 12-month period. You'll see that the target is the 60% average, 70% is the actual benchmark. So that's, we should be aiming for the 70%, we're actually aiming for the 60%, which are over the years.
Should we better expand a few bin routes and play that, so that's the case.
The other question, Councillor?
The other question is, that loss disposal of assets, that's on page 59, page 59, is that mainly the loss we suffered on when trading bank?
Operating Officer?
that could be called for a multitude of applicants. We have the details at this point in time on what each individual is.
Please.
Yes, I wouldn't have the losses for the councillor at the moment, I could get you more detailed information.
I just presume.
Yeah, as I said, I couldn't answer into the detail.
Thank you, Councillor Berry. Councillor Roman Petrie?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Colin, thank you for adding that bit at the front, but I was just wondering, were we unable to get those two service parts altered in relation to the very first strategy, which is encourage families and young people to live in joint status Shire, where we're talking about changing the theatre and museum complex to parks, gardens, and open spaces, and then sporting facilities, instead of just having a swimming complex there, had a little addendum that said, please refer to line item above for the other sporting facilities.
It's probably my error in terms of the refer to the above. The please note service identified down the bottom when we went back and spoke with the various officers who were delivering the services. We had previously identified operations that was concerned, which I think we also discussed about how many different sections and services we need to identify, and once we've done that, there were a variety of services that did contribute to other areas, I guess.
Thank you. Look, yeah, just to explain that, Councillor, I was just concerned that the service doesn't fully, because the way it's done, you can only nominate one particular service for each of the strategies that people have put forward, when in fact in some places there's 2, 3 or 4 that are put there now, and maybe something look at the future that we can better word that so people don't think that their strategies are being lost. So thanks, Colin.
And we certainly have taken that on notice and as discussed future iterations. Obviously, when we redo the annual operational plan, we'll attempt to actually include 2 actions or activities for the first service.
I'll just have to go some comment from Acting GM.
Yes, Mr Mayor, through you, no criticism, but there is an opportunity for future budgets that we can review this one as well, the first quarterly review, to have a lot more detail about services based on a more program budgeting approach.
It's more to the word that there's from the front of the document, not the budget. I did have a question on fees and a question on the budget with other councillors also.
Exactly that, Councillor. Is there any other questions to do with the report, Councillor, before we go back to questions from Councillor Berry? You still have one question, Councillor?
Automatic doors, I didn't write the page down, sorry Kyle, automatic doors for the VIC, I see there's about $16,000 there set aside for that. I'm just wondering if that's necessary at this stage.
Honestly, Councillor, I'm happy to take that question on notice, and as our acting chief executive said, it's reviewing the expenditure issue with the first review, and certainly hold forward any programming if there are concerns about that. I couldn't answer your question as to whether that's appropriate.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Councillor Berry. Councillor Roman Petrie, another question?
Yes. Well, that's kind of answered one of mine. One was about an automatic door, the need for that, when there's no running, curving and guttering in the same first 2 years. I think we've got the curving and guttering and a sliding door, so I just, thank you. The query I have in the fees and charges, so I don't have a question for that. In the fees and charges, there's a inconsistency between photocopying and fax between the office and the library. I'm not quite sure if that's intentional. Like there's a different rate. The other thing I'm concerned about with our fees and charges is that our rate payers have had copped substantial rate increases over the past 3 years and another 12% with CPI in the next coming. And some of our charge increases are very dramatic. I'm just wondering I know you're new to the job, that if there's any specific reason why some of them have gone well above CPI increase. And also, I was just wanted an explanation on a new fee for public gate maintenance of $100, what that refers to.
Sorry, if I can tackle the last part of that question first, the specific fee, please.
Yeah, it's a new fee. It's a new fee for $100 under public gate and bypass, which I presume with widths and the gates next door. whereas I believe this is what it must be, is that, I mean, up until now, you need to have a grid and a gate next door to it. You apply to council and you maintain it. Is this now a new charge so that every time you go to maintain that grid, clean it out or have to replace your gate, you've got to come to council and pay another $100 every time?
Sorry, and I'd have to take that one on notice and more than happy to provide the information. The fees, even when we talk about why some have gone up more than others, have been attributed back to those services and the levels of income that are being derived from each of those services. So it's not just a blanket application and the fees don't go up, by a 2.1 or 1.2% over the whole. So they are actually indicatively linked back to those services and then adjusted in the fees. But previously too, we have had a conversation, we will go back and revisit the fees and charges. I think Councillor Fish also had some concerns at the last meeting about fees and charges, so going back and revisiting those to make sure that council is comfortable. Unfortunately, of course, too, we'll have to re-adopt those fees and charges and place them on exhibition when the review is complete. That means with council's satisfaction.
All right, well, thank you for that, because I'm very concerned about the fees. But there's a public gate one, it's on page 100. Third from the top, and it's got public gate and bypass application, $932, now it's $960, and I'm sure this is for putting in a new grid, and the gate next door to it. But the new fee is the one underneath it, which is public gate and bypass application, issue of S138 for maintenance. Now, if this $100 is so that when a landowner has to come and has to go and clean his grid out or fix the sides up or replace the gate next door to the grid, if he's got to come to council and pay $100 every time to do that, and I don't know whether that means someone from council has to come out and look at it and see which would pay for the $100 we pay for. I just think it's ridiculous. I mean, I know one landowner, Mackenzie, I think he's got 10 grids.
And as the council, I have to take that on notice. I don't know what comprises of the fee. Obviously, it's been included by officers as an identified part of their service revenue stream. So I can certainly review them on just the
So, if we got the budget, can we delete items?
Just bear with me, I'll go to our general manager for a moment for some advice. Comment?
Sorry, Mr. Minister, you have identified a few issues in the fees and charges that need to be reviewed, that have been advertised. My view would be that probably take us a month of July to review some of those. In the meantime, my view would be I wouldn't be charging it until I came back to council with the review.
So we can set a review for July?
Looking forward to
If
come
we
back.
adopt this now?
If we adopt it now, and if there's a major concern about that new fee, then my instruction to the officers would be we don't charge it, and we add that to the other list of the other items that I'd like to be reviewed to come back to council. In the meantime, we don't charge it.
I think that's good advice, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your comments. Councillor McNeish, your question to do with the report?
Just with the fees and charges, Mr Mayor. I noticed per head of cattle is $7.59 and you've got your $2.81 work, health and safety infrastructure levy. That makes it $10.40 to sell a beef at the sale yards. I think that's a little bit counterproductive because more and more people are selling on Auctions Plus, which costs you about $7 a head. And we're going to get this nice fancy sale yards out there with all the new chrome and stainless steel and Christ knows what there, with less and less cattle going every year. We keep putting these fees and charges up. Also, just on the cattle, emergency NLIS tags, $36. Now often, you load your truck up and by the time they get to the sale yard, one of them's water's in a bit of mesh or something like that. To me, that's an awful imposition for something which is not really the cockey's fault. I know myself, I give half a dozen tags to an agent, if there's one missing, he just puts it on and he checks them. But I just think that's it's an awful impost for something which is not done on purpose.
I know that, Councillor, and you're obviously aware what the levy was there for, was to pay for the cattle.
Yeah, I realise that.
So it was. And the other thing is, Councillor, is highly illegal to give your agent tags to put into your cattle.
Oh no, I've got to go and put them on.
Yeah.
They ring up and tell me.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear. Anyway, so.
That's right, too.
Just been there the same way. Councillor, this being a small time carrier, I do acknowledge and I pick them off the floor of my truck also and hand them to the agent so to make sure that they put them back in. It happens. So it doesn't, I'd have to check, and I'm not the opposite, I don't pretend to be Councillor McNish, but with the cost of the emergency tag, I do feel that, and I agree, it sounds a lot of money, but I think it's fairly standard. They're not going to give them to you. So I don't know, I'd have to check on that to make sure that's true, Councillor, but I know that that's been questioned at SIA meetings.
It's just, Mr. Mayor, the whole thrust of my comments here is to, I guess, it's to protect the SIA.
Oh, totally agree.
Make sure they remain viable.
Totally agree. And they are, and it's been noted, and they are an asset of this council, and even with the visit from our roads minister the other day, was visiting there for the side of the truck wash.
Yeah.
You know, she commented on you know, the standard of the sale yards, and you don't let those things fall down every any years. You need to keep maintaining them, but it's at a cost.
That's right.
So it is. Do you have a question, Councillor Coleman? Question to do with the report?
Yeah, just on the tag.
Right.
I was wondering, is there an ability, because I know that price is a deterrent. The actual tag itself costs $3.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is a deterrent to stop people who used to send in a whole swag of cattle and go, oh, give me 20 emergency tags. Maybe we could have a fee for one tag, or one or two or something, but if there's in excess of that number, and to maintain the deterrent of deliberately sending cattle without any tags, whether it's something we could investigate in the review.
Well, to help, because on the SAYARD committee, and Councillor Petrie informed, it's probably something we could raise at the next SAYARD meeting, just a bit of clarity there.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that in the world we have today, especially with our wonderful biosecurity plan we're all into at the moment,
Yeah.
that there wouldn't be too many producers, Councillor, that aren't tagging their cattle. It's just mainly there if they lose it in transit or you know, it could be an old age cow that's got paid and they have lost the tag without the producer knowing.
So, I mean, that's why the vision that we grew. So I'm just wondering if we, to the General Manager, can we flag issues in the fee structure, including the waste management fee, which is one I would like to see dramatically reduced. In our review, do you want us in the next few weeks to give you a list of sections of those fees to move out a bit forward now?
Mr. Mayor, through you, the sooner we get that information, the better. We can add it to the list of things we're reviewing.
Thank you, Mr. Acting GM. Councillors, I'll close questions because it's not a debate, it's officer's recommendation we'll put forward, and we'll move on with this report. Okay. So the officer's recommendations there, Council. All happy? In favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Council, we'll move on to page 49. It's item GOV 36/17. It's the position of a manager assets and project planning. Can I have a move and a second to deal with this one, please? Councillor Sawyer, I thank you. Second, please, Councillor Murray, and I thank you. And I hand over to our Acting Chief Executive.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. At the last council meeting, there was a resolution not to proceed with the interview of the two positions that have been advertised, one being manager assets and the other being manager governance. I did issue a memo, or forwarded a memo to councillors saying I had done a review and believed there was an urgent need for the manager of assets. That detailed memo is in the attachments as well as one to councillors. In regard to the manager governance, I agree that that position needs to be reviewed in conjunction with some other positions in the organisation, and as I'm being fortunate enough to extend my time as Acting Chief Executive Officer, I would like the opportunity to complete that review, but I strongly recommend the council that we proceed as a matter of urgency with the manager assets. Andre has a lot of projects already started and ongoing, and we have a number of other issues, and obviously there's been a lot of other potential projects coming up in terms of Tenterfield Bypass, Bolivia Hill, and a range of other projects, and that asset management position will more than pay for itself if we've done by having appropriate contract management and design. Otherwise we'll go for a lot of extras and overruns. So I recommend the council that, subject to adoption of the budget which you've done, manager assets goes ahead with the manager governance. I would like to do a review and advise council to that review.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Councillors, questions to our Acting GM to do with this report? No? I'm sorry, Councillor Petrie.
Was the job suited me?
Councillor Murray. Question to do with the report, Councillor?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. We haven't had an assets manager here for roughly three and a half years. I think that's reasonable. And I think it would be prudent to leave it up to the new GM coming in, him or her, to make that decision, on who or whom they want to employ. So I would suggest that it's left at the moment.
Well, that's what the report's saying, councillor.
Yeah.
So if you wish
Yes, I'm
to,
just confirming, yes. That's what I'm talking.
or you, when given the opportunity, when the opportunity is there, you need to move an amendment, unless you're just going to vote against this report, councillor. I'm trying to help you there.
Well, I'll move an amendment on that one.
So the amendment is what, councillor?
That we leave it until the new GM, he or she takes over, and they can make the decision.
So, and I'll refer to this, so all councillors are to do with our acting GM's report. As acting chief executive, I'll be here until at least the end of July. The review does not need to wait for the permanent chief executive. So your amendment is against that?
Yes.
Okay. Do I, councillor, please read it as Noel Thompson. So you're happy with your flagged amendment? Is that how you want that worded, councillor?
Make that decision, yes.
Happy?
Yes.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor McNish. The seconded. Councillor Murray, being the mover of the amendment, do you want to speak to the amendment? Councillor Murray, I'm sorry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, I think it's just prudent to leave it to the new, with what I've said there. That, I'd just like to leave it to the new GM
Okay.
to make that decision.
Okay. Councillor McNish, being the seconder of the amendment, do you want to speak?
Yeah, just more or less verifying what Councillor Murray said, Mr Mayor. It's, I think it's an important position as indicated there by the acting general manager. I think it's important that the new GM will have an input into the selection of this person.
Got two speakers for, two speakers against the amendment. Question to do with the report or the amendment, councillor? To do with the amendment, I'll allow that.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just to do with this amendment, in the General Manager's report, he does refer to the urgency of putting that position in place to cover projects, etc. And I further note that in Andre's report here, he has raised some concerning items regarding current deficiencies and things that are not being done that should be being done. The whole section of the delivery program on page 41 of the attachment. So, just my question to Andre is, if we put this asset manager in now, as opposed to the potentially not getting a new general manager until September, how quickly would these deficiencies be able to be dealt with?
Thank you, Councillor, for the question. Look, these deficiencies, as highlighted in my memo, are such that they are right now, they exist. Yes, Councillor Murray has noted that you haven't had an asset management for 3.5 years, but the reality of it is that, dare I say, circumstances have changed in this council. You have got a groundswell of activity that has to happen in this shire. Mount Lindsay Road is case in point, $24 million over the next 3 years. You've got a program, right, a delivery program that is certainly expanded upon from previous years. There's a whole lot of things that are not happening, and dare I say, if you want to delay this for another couple of months, what I'm going to have to do is potentially put in a temporary person to just sort of start on a few of the items just to get us by, and I question whether we'd even get by, frankly, because that person will only be there for 2 or 3 months. Then you've got to go through the recruitment process. I reckon we'd easily lose 4 to 5 months, right, in this process if we go down this path. And what that will mean is that you will have an impact on your delivery next year. That's as simple as I can summarise it. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. Councillor Berry, you have a question?
Yes. Andre, in your report then you talk about being able to offset the cost of this asset manager against Mount Lindsay Road and a few other projects. So in other words, it would be cost neutral. Is that correct? Am I reading it right?
You're largely reading it right. I mean, this position adds to the value of what we deliver. At the end of the day, you've got to have projects properly scoped, and you've got to have the contractual framework set up properly. Short of me doing it all, I need hands and feet, or arms and legs, to assist me. And so I would be seeking to offset some of the costs of this individual against projects. You're going to have any amount of projects going forward. There are plenty on the books right now, and going forward into the future, as we deal with asset management and hopefully deal with asset management in a correct and efficient manner, those costs will be recouped in more ways than one. Thank you.
Question.
So
Very
the-
short one. Always to do with the thing, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Are the applicants still available under the current, from the advertisement from before?
Mr. Mayor, through you, to the best of our knowledge, they are, although I don't think we've had any further contact with them. We may find when we go to contact those people that we have to re-advertise, but to the best of our knowledge, they're still available.
I'll close the questions then, because I'm going to deal with the amendment. But I need to make comment because I fully support the officer's recommendation, and I think it's been explained clearly to us as a council as a whole how important it is right at the moment to get on with this. And I don't feel that we can dilly-dally any longer. So it is because we have these projects, they aren't new, and they need to be acted on. So I'll put the amendment. The amendment's moved by Councillor. I'll put it. Are you speaking against the amendment? Okay. I'll take a split. No, careful. I'm happy because I think I did ask before and you just came with a question.
Yes.
Okay, because we had two speakers who will put the amendment, then I asked for speakers against the amendment. Okay, so you're speaking against the amendment? Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. Now that my questions have been answered.
Thank you.
Questions take precedence. I am speaking against the amendment, but unfortunately, we're in the unfortunate situation that the position was advertised prior to council actually approving the positions as required under the Act as noted in the officer's recommendation. So I do appreciate the urgency in filling the asset manager position, and I, so as such, and because of what is happening at the moment, and because of council reputation and the advertisement going out and then nothing happening, and then it may then have to go out again, I would speak against the amendment and support the officer's recommendation in full.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, councillors, we're putting the amendment. It's been moved by Councillor Murray, seconded by Councillor Nish, that the employment of the manager assets and project planning be left until the employment of the new chief executive to make that decision. All in favour of the amendment? 1, 2, 3. Against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 amendments lost. Okay, councillors, we go back to the officer's recommendation. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, we have got the one's coming about midday. We'll keep going until it's okay. So we'll go in, council will keep plugging along until lunch turns up. You all happy with that? Okay, thank you. So we'll go on to page 51, councillors. It's item GOV 37/17, annual remuneration for councillors in the Mayor 217/18. Can I have a move in a second here, please, to deal with this? Councillor Sawyer, thank you. Second, Councillor Tom Peters. And I'll hand over to the acting chief executive to present this report. Thank you, Tom.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. The annual remuneration tribunal report is out, and the recommendations are in front of you in terms of the setting of the fees for both councillors and mayor. I strongly recommend that the council adopt that recommendation and accept those fees.
Any questions?
Reasonable.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Any questions to the chief executive to do with this report, councillors? Councillor Petrie, then I'll go to you, Councillor Berry.
Are we supposed to
Ron,
put in
Petrie, sorry.
are we supposed to put in a pecuniary interest fund?
It's under the legal.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, it's as it affects all as it affects, I don't mean it affects in a bad way, as it affects all councils, no, there is no reason or need for a pecuniary. If there was a need for a declaration of interest, then there wouldn't be a need for a report. I just do it administratively.
I apologise, councillors, Nolan was out of the room and kept it on. Who moved and seconded this, please? Can you remember? It was you, Tom Peters, I think you seconded this report.
Councillor Sawyer seconded.
You seconded, Tom Peters?
Other way around.
Other way around, sorry.
You moved it, councillor Peters seconded. Thank you, I apologise, councillor. Okay, I apologise, councillor Petrie, you asked a question to do, we need to make a declaration. So you got an answer? Councillor Berry?
Well, I got all excited, I read financial annual budget, I found $140,000 there, I thought that was going to put in there.
No. Just a comment, councillor.
Is no idea.
Right, so any more questions to our acting chief executive? Councillor Murray, yes?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, this is a question pertaining to this.
Right, yep.
And it's to do with mileage.
With mileage.
With mileage. No, mileage is not in this, but it does address why I'm asking, because it should be addressed.
Well, I'll ask for advice from our acting GM, just to, so I need to put you in the right place, councillor. I don't mean that in a bad way, that it's lawful and legal to be discussing this, okay?
Mr. Mayor, thank you through you. This is about the fees that are paid to councillors. The fees are allowances that are paid to council plus the mayor's being allowance. In terms of mileage and claim for mileage, that's a matter for the facilities policy, nothing to do with remuneration or fees or allowances. So if there's a concern from any of the councillors that the facilities policy doesn't adequately address claims for mileage, then it's a matter that could be considered either when the review is done or a notice of motion put up for us to review it. So if the council feels that the fees, facilities policy needs review, give us a notice of motion and we'll review the policy and bring it back to you.
And I thank you, Dave, because I think that's very good advice, councillor.
Thank you.
To go forward. Any more questions to our acting chief executive, councillors? If not, the officer's recommendations there, all in favour? Against? Carried. Councillors, we move on to page 54 in your hard copy, titled GOB 38/17, Investment Draft Policy 1.091. Sorry. Apologise, councillors. Oh, okay. Okay. So still here. Okay, we'll keep going. So item GOV 38/17, to do with the investment draft policy 1.091. Councillors, can I have a move in a second to deal with this, please? Councillor White Petrie, thank you. Second, please. Councillor Berry, thank you. Pretty quiet, but there'll be no good of an option.
I know.
Anyway, right, I'll hand over to our Chief Corporate Officer, Dave. Thank you. I'm sorry, Chief Corporate Officer Colin. I apologise.
We'll look at the answers. So thank you very much there, councillors. We have the investment policy for your review, and within that particular report that has been highlighted, the responses that have been made to that exhibition period. As long as there's recommendation that the council adopts the draft investment policy as per the attachment. Also noted in there with your run sheet, the amendments under policy and regulation. The previous policy and regulation statement was incorrect, and the investment policy is compliant with the Local Government Act and Local Government General Regulations and the Ministerial Investment Order without actually highlighting which banks. So whichever I included in that order is what we were using, but I will hand over to Andrew to highlight any other things that you would like to cover in the report.
Thank you, Colin. Once again, welcome, Andrew.
Councillor, I think it's pretty much been covered over by Kylie. At the end of the day, the opportunity is here to allow us to further diversify our funding and allow us to use other banks as well. And using the banking rating as the determinant for the bank you should use for investing those funds. By spreading out the funds, it's a bit like not having all your eggs in one basket, if you like, to use the analogy. And it means that we have the opportunity to be able to reduce our risk by using a number of banks rather than spreading them into a few.
Thank you, Andrew. Councillors, question to either Colin or Andrew to do with this report. Councillor Berry.
Not a question, Mr. Mayor, just a correction. I think this one's got to be displayed, Mrs. Cheryl J-A-Q-U-E-S, and immediately below that in the report, Mrs. J-A-R-Q-U-E-S.
Just a typo, Councillor.
Just a typo, yeah.
Thank you for clarity. Any other questions, councillors, to Kylie or to Andrew? If not, the report's there, the recommendation's there, we adopt. Councillors, all in favour? Against? Carried. Councillors, we move on to page 57. It's item GOV 39/17, related party disclosure policy. It's a new policy. Can I have a move and a second here, please? Councillor Sawyer, I thank you, and seconded by Councillor Bromwich briefly. I thank you. And once again, I'll hand over to the Chief Corporate Officer, Kyle.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This particular related party disclosure policy has been workshopped by council, so hopefully we have some solid information around that. The officer's recommendation that we adopt the draft related parties disclosure policy as per the attachment and place the policy on public exhibition for a period of 14 days.
Thank you, Kyle. Questions to our Chief Corporate Officer to do with the report, councillors? No questions? The report's there, councillors. Happy to receive, adopt. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, we move on to page 62 in your hard copy. GOV 40/17. Samantha Mackenzie Communication Tower Facility Sharing Licence Agreement. Innovation D. Can I have a move and a seconder to deal with this item, please? Councillor Michael Petrie, I thank you. Seconder, Councillor Tom Peters, I thank you. And once again, I'll hand over to our Chief Operating Officer. Thank you, Andrew. Andre.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, councillors. This report has a little bit of history associated with it, but the long and short of it is that we have an arrangement in place, or appear to have an arrangement in place whereby, by the signing of the deed of novation, there is clarity going forward in terms of the provision of communications for one of our network providers. This is nothing special. Deeds of novation are common practice out in the community, so I think this is a straightforward execution of an agreement to ensure the longevity of what the lease, the amounts to the lease of one of our facilities. Thank you.
Questions to our the Chief Operating Officer to the report, councillors. Councillor Bromwich Petrie.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I was just wondering, the existing or pre-existing contract, it had a termination date of 2014. Was it never renewed?
Okay.
Councillor, that would appear to be the case.
More questions to do with our Chief Operating Officer to the report, councillors. Councillor Sawyer.
Yes, Mr Mayor, just a general observation. Do we have any control over, when we sign the lease, over giving them an obligation to actually supply the service of that tower? Because the big bash was on and off all through the summer.
Yep.
And only the other night I was watching a current affairs program of some description and missed the crucial thing because they went off to the little pixies, whatever they did. Outside our control.
I commend you on your question, councillor. Andre.
Well, obviously, councillor, there's no guarantees with these sort of things, but that said, I've been led to believe that what they're proposing to put up there will certainly at least maintain the existing level of service, if not improve it. So it's a case of wait and see.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Bromwich Petrie. Question to do with the report?
Yes, I was wondering, is it possible to add a service delivery assurance clause to the contract?
Okay, councillors. The officer's recommendations there, councillors. All happy to vote in favour? Against? Okay, thank you. Councillors, we move on to the start of our reports. It's item RC7/17. It's report of committees and delegates, Stanford Shire Local Traffic Committee. Is chairing that, I'm happy to move that. Can I have a second, please? Councillor Berry, I thank you. Councillors, the report's there, and our Chief Operating Officer's with us here, so I'm happy to, if there's any questions to me or to our Chief Operating Officer, happy to do with the report. Councillor McNish.
Just on number 8, Mr Mayor, and thank you I believe that resident is a real relative of mine. It's very dangerous coming out of that driveway with the cars parked right up adjacent to the road. Unfortunately, people continue to do it all the time. I wonder if the ranger could be directed to let's have a keep an eye on that place there.
Thanks for your comments, Councillor. Any more questions? Myself as chair or to Andrea? Councillor Bromman, Petrie?
Thank you, Smith. Just in relation to the industrial estate, does the report mean that trucks actually parked in the paddock or on the road?
Councillor, if I can just, Andrea, your opinion, but we're not having a go at the truck industry. They're just using it, and they use our Sargo still also. So it is an issue that will come up one day. We're trying to be ahead of the ball, not trying to make bad neighbours out of anybody. One of the purchasers of a bit of land out there, I know, is using it very frequently. So I don't know what the answer is. It's clearly stated there that, you know, with that we'll start the conversation with the RMS for construction of a park-up bay somewhere, and it all will help to do with our bypass. Did you want to make any comment on that?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I think you summed it up well.
But councillors, what I will note is how important that the Roads and Traffic Committee is, as all our committees are. And Councillor Bishop raised a really important thing. You know, when we get an approach, we all do as councillors from our ratepayers, you know, to do with what are you doing about this or what are you doing about that. Through this committee, it's a starting point. That's where it starts. We've had great success and wonderful to hear that announcement the other day to do with the funding of the lights out there at the Ballindine intersection. It wasn't the top thing that we wanted. We wanted a lot of work done, but that's better than nothing. And that all was driven through this with the support of the RMS, and so we're making some goals, and as we all do on all the committees. So I just want to note that it is very important. Councillors, any more questions? No more questions? All happy to receive and note the report. Thank you. In favour? Against? Carried. Councillors, we move on to page 76 in our copy. Item RC8/17, reports to committees, once again delegates. It's Audit and Risk Committee. In the absence of our chairperson there, I did chair that, so I'm happy to move that. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Forbes, I thank you. Any questions, councillors, to do with the Audit and Risk? No? All happy to receive and note? Favour? Against? Carried. Councillors, we move on to page 81, which is the back of your hard copy. It's our the council resolution, June 17. It's item RES5/17. Can I get a move and a seconder for this, please? Councillor Sawyer, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Tom Peters. And I'll hand over to Acting Chief Executive Dave.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. The information in regard to outstanding resolutions is in attachment 20. So I'm happy to get Kylie or Andre to answer any questions the council has.
Thank you. Questions, councillors? All happy to. I'm sorry, Councillor Petrie, you have a question?
Yes, just in relation to the amendment to the Technical Development Controls Plan regarding signage and advertising. In the comments, it said there that, you know, that it was going into the Chamber of Commerce, etc. And so further report to council for consideration will be with recommended changes. I'm just wondering when that was envisaged.
Thank you, Councillor.
Page 7 on the resolution.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, I may be able to answer. My understanding is that Andre may wish to confirm or take a note. I don't know that we've had a response from the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay. Bear with me, councillors, just a moment. You don't know. You know what to Right. Apologise, councillors. Okay, councillors, that's the end of our open meeting. We now move into confidential. You happy to? Lunch will be here about 12:30. You happy to keep charging along, councillors? We all good? Well, we'll leave it to the end of the meeting, because it'll be in. recommendations on, yeah, was it for, right at the end, meeting closed, confidential business resolution, notice. Yeah, you do it with a question without noticing else. Okay. Right, now we're back on track. Okay, councillor, would someone like to move into confidential, please? Councillor Bromwich, Petrie, thank you. Sorry.
You're right.
Second, please. We'll move into confidential. Councillor Tom Peters, thank you. In order, councillors, we'll deal with the supply of tilt crane. Sorry. That council one retender 09-16/17 the supply of a tilt crane truck. Reallocate funding for the purchase of a tilt crane truck to the 2017-18 planned replacement budget and tenders be recalled in the new financial year. The other item, yeah, we'll go up here, Nolene, if you don't mind, yeah. To do with, well, can you go, I just need to say what item it was. With item GOB 3217, Chief Executive Recruitment Selection Process, now to the resolution. That council appoint Blackadder and Associates as the recruitment agents for the Chief Executive position and allocate a TRP of $225,000 and determine an interview panel of 7 councillors at the July ordinary meeting. That was carried. Our last item to do with confidential councillors was an addendum item to do with the pollution incident. That was item ENV 10/17, 216 pollution incident update, and the council received a note to status of EPA follow-up consequent to a June 2016 effluent overflow from council sewer main. Councillors, that is the end of our council meeting. I thank you all very much for your attendance, and to our senior staff and to you, Mr. GM and Noe, for your wonderful work. The meeting is ended. Peace and harmony. Well.